Yeah, good evening, everyone. We have here Professor Eyal Zisser and Dr. Ghassan and Diab. We got to discuss about the situation with Lebanon and the solutions of this conflict. Uh, and I want to start with one question for both of you. Uh, what is the nature of the conflict between Lebanon and Israel? And what the main points of this conflict. Professor Caesar?
Well, I don't think that there is a conflict between Israel and Lebanon as such. Clearly not between Israel and most of the Lebanese, clearly not between Israel and the Lebanese government or state, whatever it means nowadays when you don't have a government, you don't have a president. There are a few issues to be discussed. There are a few disputes, territorial disputes, 1 meter here, 1 meter there. Uh, but generally speaking, we are not speaking about Israel and Lebanon. We are speaking about Hezbollah, who under the dictate from Iran, but it has to do also with the image it wants to project, join Hamas, warm up the border between Israel and Lebanon, and unfortunately can lead to deterioration that would be developed into a major war. I hope we can avoid it, but the question right now is how to once again ensure stability and quiet along the border.
Uh, if you can back to the 70s, how it start the direct conflict?
Well, if we speak about, we can start in the 48, but after the 48 war, when there was a limited engagement of some Lebanese unit, the border was quiet, and then till 67, but then starting from mid-60s, Palestinian groups start settling in Lebanon and use Lebanese territory to attack Israel. At first, it was under the instructions of Damascus. I mean, Syria was the one that formed Fatah and operated its people in the 65, 66, 67. But then the PLO moved from Jordan to Lebanon and turned, we all know, southern Lebanon into a semi-independent state, and use it also to fight Lebanese, but also to fight Israel, and this led to an Israeli engagement in what happened in Lebanon, and some mistakes made. Israel hope it can restructure Lebanon, something Syria hope also to do, and both failed. But I think that since the mid-80s and clearly after 2000, when Israel completely withdrew from Lebanon, the issues of the past are the issues of the past. Now we speak mainly about Hezbollah.
Yeah, Dr. Ghassan, from your side as a Lebanese, how you see the conflict between Israel and Lebanon, and why the Lebanese people see Israel as an enemy?
So, good evening, everybody following this webinar from both sides of the borders, and our friends here in the United States and all over the world. Peace be upon you, and God's mercy and blessing for everybody. And shalom, Professor. Peace is something, shalom to start with. And in Islam, God is peace. when the Prophet was met by the angel, he was greeted by peace. So peace is the will. Now, we'll discuss that later, but I admit, there is a challenge in understanding the nature of conflict between Lebanon and Israel post the implementation of the Resolution 425 and the withdrawal of the Israeli armed forces from Lebanon. Before that era, there was hostility. There was hostility, and it was understandable. Now, if we want to go deeper in the roots, as Mendi said, and as you mentioned also, we will find roots. We will find grassroots for that everywhere, and we will find different sides of stories. But I personally face a challenge, and not only me, in understanding the nature of conflict post 425 implementation and the withdrawal from the Lebanese borders and the territories of Lebanon. Like, no one wants an occupied land. Now, what type of conflict and what are the bases built upon, and how can we challenge these causes of conflict? This is a big discussion. Some scholars build this upon the disputed territories in the farms of Shib'a and the Kfar Shuba also area. Others, like myself, think that it's not enough to be a cause of conflict between the two neighboring states. Some say that part of the conflict is the dispute over the oil and gas in our shared region in the sea. All these could be causes, but again, in my opinion, if tackled by goodwill, I think we can find a friendly resolution for them. Some say that part of the problem is the Palestinian refugees in Lebanon. Again, when we speak about permanent peace, there shall be a way to figure that out. I always count on our good deeds. I always count on spreading the hand across the borders, a hand spread with peace. And it requires two to tango, Professor. As you know, it requires two to tango. That being said, when we find out that there is a piece or glance of hope, we're ready to take it. And that's why myself and yourself are destroying all these stereotypes and prejudice, and even some legal challenges, being called spy, to tackle this challenge and speak to the other, do the secret word dialogue, dia, two or more, and logos. So that's why. And thanks for Safadi Center, and thanks for yourself and for the Tel Aviv University for making this available and opening that dialogue to understand again. And I'll sum it here: to understand, or to try to understand, the nature of conflict, because as you know, sir, you cannot solve a conflict if you don't understand it and go to the grassroots of that conflict. Mendi, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, we know what the points, and we tried always to find the solutions, which how we can to move on to the start to talk each other and start to find the way how to fix this conflict. So what the alternatives and what the solutions that you can see to fix this conflict between Israel and Lebanon?
Well, in order to solve the conflict, you need to have a readiness or even eagerness, passion to solve it, a desire, an understanding that you need to solve it. Now, when it comes to Hezbollah is not ready to recognize the right of Israel to exist. It calls for the destruction of Israel. It opposes any dialogue with Israel. It imposes its will on the Lebanese. It's even forbidden in Lebanon to speak or to communicate with Israelis as a result of the pressure of Hezbollah. So the first thing is to understand that there is a need that two sides would benefit, and there need to be a will to solve the problem. I don't see any will on the side of Hezbollah, and the question is whether the majority of the Lebanese, because I think that the majority of the Lebanese want to solve the problem and want to have normal life and want to have peace with all of their neighbors. So first of all, before we solve the conflict between Israel and Lebanon, I think in Lebanon there should be a state, there should be a government, sovereignty for the state, not for militia, and the conflict within the Lebanese society. We only heard several days ago that member of Al-Quwat al-Lubnani of the Lebanese forces was assassinated. I don't know by who. So in order to solve the problem between Israel and Lebanon, first of all, there should be a solution or a move toward stability in Lebanon, and then I think we can achieve progress.
Okay, Dr. Ghassan, following what Professor Zisser say, can we find in Lebanon parts or groups which partners which we can make with them a coalition to clean Lebanon from Hezbollah, and then we can open for both of us the door for peace.
Now,
and what the other solutions you see in this situation?
Yeah. So to comment on what Professor just said, there's two sides of the conflict, and there is two levels to tackle. The medium of Hezbollah is my problem, is our fellow Lebanese. The project of Hezbollah is not only my problem. It's the problem of the region. It's the problem of Israel. It's the problem of the United States of America. It's the problem of all the access of moderate countries. So I can't, as Lebanese only, as Lebanon, this state, cannot by itself alone challenge the problem of Hezbollah, the project of Hezbollah, because it's part, and they declare it, I didn't say that, it's part of the project of Iran. It's part of the project of the axis of terror, of the so-called axis of resistance. So I can't, as Lebanon, as a country, take this problem by myself alone. I need help solving that problem. And, you know, it's open for international community to help solve that problem, because it wasn't me who inflated that problem. So I can't take the full consequences for that. Do I need help solving it? Yes. Can I do it by myself? No. And that's the simple answer for that. Now, does that mean I'm abandoning the Shiite people who are any way or another aligned with Hezbollah? No, definitely not. But do I have a problem with the Hezbollah's project? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Is it my only problem? No. The project of Al-Wali al-Faqih starts in Iran and continues in the old countries that Iran occupied. It's the problem of the free world in Iraq. It's a problem of the free world in Syria. It's a problem of the free world in Lebanon. Now, at the same time, do I have basis for starting this type of dialogue that any way or another we're breaking those walls that the professor spoke about? And yes, it's my national interest. Yes, as Lebanese, it's my national interest to live in peace. Because again, we're having a problem in the dilemma and in the concept of like, why are we fighting? Other than the project of Hezbollah, which is linked to the project of Al-Wali al-Faqih in Tehran, in the temporary regime occupying Iran, you know, I'm asking, what else other than being part of that project? And this is what's making me step that forward. Sir, we've been in conflict for the last 75 years. My question is this conflict unsolvable? Can we give 25 years a chance of peace? This is what's encouraging me to speak to intelligentsia like yourself in the Israeli mind. And we don't want, I'm honestly not interested as Lebanese in any type of security measures. I'm interested in a political peace building based on national interests for both countries. I'm interested in utilizing and enhancing. Sir, do you know that Lebanon and Israel has the longest ever and the oldest ever relations, trade relations, and political relations, going back to King Hiram and King Solomon? Do you know that the temple was built by a builder, by a mason called Hiram by itself? This different than the king. I'm sure you know. So why would I used to sell, my ancestors used to sell the wood of the cedars to King Solomon, and it was one of the most amazing relations ever. Why would I not utilize all this stuff? There is a famous proverb for King Al-Hassan II of Morocco. He said he was a wise man. I highly admire his memory. He said the Jewish mind and the Arab capital will make the East and the Middle East the paradise. The paradise. Why wouldn't I utilize that? I am just a neighbor state to Israel. Now, historically, we had a problem finding someone like yourself, sir, who understand the strategic advantage of being, allies in strategic partnership. But guess what? The millions and billions of dollars that you pay for defense, if invested in common projects, I think we can do way better than what's going on. And turning this towards an intellectual and an open debate, I think that's a big step. Sir, today we are restarting history. Today we started writing history, but a history with a different narrative. I believe in what we are doing. I don't know if you share that with me also.
Well, first of all, I fully agree with everything you said, and I think we shouldn't stop believing in peace, and we shouldn't stop looking and seeking for ways to promote peace and ensure stability. And I think that peace and economic progress are better than any weapon, any develop an advanced weapon you can from anyone, either it's Hezbollah, Iran, or Israel from the United States. I think that there are many examples for achieving such a goal in our region. There is the Kingdom of Jordan. There were many bitter memories. There were territorial disputes, and eventually we signed a peace agreement. And only lately we learned that Jordan took part in the so-called coalition to defeat the Iranian attacks, by the way, not only against Israel, because it was violate also the Jordanian sovereignty. Now, as I see it, I mean, there is now fire in eruption of fire in Lebanon, and this is the result of Hezbollah. It's an option, yes. Some think that by promoting regional peace between Israel and all the other Arab countries, by achieving progress on the Palestinian question, this can help us contain the fire in Lebanon. I'm not entirely sure, because I don't think that peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and this is on the table, will convince Iran to become more peaceful. And if Iran continues with its current policy, this means that also with Hezbollah, it's the same story. So promoting peace in the region, this is wonderful. It can help ease the tension, but I don't know if it will be the ultimate solution to the challenge. There are those who say, we should wait till Syria makes a comeback, and once again it controls Lebanon, and we make a deal with Syria, and this solves the problem. I really don't have an answer, because the problem in the case of Hezbollah is that this is an organization that, when we speak of Lebanon, there is no meaning for the Lebanon has no meaning, because Hezbollah does in Lebanon what it wants. It is stronger than the Lebanese army. It can impose its will on the Lebanese political system. We remember in 2008, when he was angry at something, his people seized Western Beirut. So I think a dialogue, I think promoting peace will ease, in a way, the tension, but we have to admit it, that as long as Hezbollah has this ideology and is being influenced by Iran, there will be no peace in Lebanon, and probably also no peace along the Israeli-Lebanese border.
Professor, I like something about the Constitution. I like many things about the Constitution of the United States of America, but what I like the most is the first sentence: we, the people. Everybody needs to know that Hezbollah is not Lebanon. The Shiite people, the Shiite sect, are part of Lebanon. But Lebanon didn't start 21 years ago. The project of Hezbollah started with the rise of the Khomeini's revolution. But Lebanon is 5,000 years older or more than that. As a Lebanese, I passed through many Hezbollahs throughout history. As a Lebanese, and you as a Hebrew, as a Jewish scholar, your ancestors passed through stages. Nations are not built in a century only. They're built by centuries, and we learned that from yourself, sir, and from scholars like you. Personally, as a Lebanese nationalist, I believe that my aim, my role is to entertain the national interest of the Lebanese people and not that of Ali Khamenei. Now, yes, Hezbollah is there, but others are also there. And Hezbollah is temporary. Lebanon is permanent. Sir, Israel and Lebanon are the only countries in the world mentioned in the Bible. And you know that. They didn't mention Hezbollah in the Bible, but they mentioned Lebanon and they mentioned Israel. And this is a sign. I think we have much to build upon if you can convince the intelligentsia in Israel that, hey, there are other constituents in Lebanon. And now guess what? That the project that they're calling for is not what the Lebanese are calling for. The Lebanese people are calling towards permanent peace. The Lebanese people are calling towards settlement. The Lebanese people are calling towards a better future, a future that's not built on hostility. I mean, the enmity between Lebanon and Israel is counter the flow of history and counter geography. I can't remove you from the map. You can't remove me from the map. We need to figure out a way to cooperate and to live in peace. And this is only could be done with people like yourself advocating from that side versus people from my side also doing the same and saying one thing. Whoever wants to be a safeguarder for the Islamic Revolution in Iran has nothing to do with the people of Lebanon. Whoever wants to have any other project other than the Lebanese project, sir, why would I not utilize being a neighbor of Israel and do a strategic collaboration? Because there is somebody trained, funded, and supported by a so-called Islamic regime occupying a great country like Iran, and that project is simply expanding. Okay, what's our role? I believe in hope. I believe in collaborative work and a work based on a plan. And the plan is to build the peace. It's not easy, Professor, but it requires courageous people. And I'm sure I can find from the other side courageous people too, who can utilize the historical moment that our region is passing through. Now, guess what? Without rain, agriculture doesn't work. And to get good fruits, you have to work hard. I know it's 1,000 miles road, but if we don't start the first step, we will never reach.
Professor Zisser, we can believe that to find again the partners in Lebanon to stand with us in any war we start against Hezbollah, because in my opinion that we can't move away from the without war against Hezbollah to move them far from our borders. So did you think that we can find partners in Lebanon like the last war?
Well, first of all, I think once again, and let me repeat what I have said, that, I mean, basically, Israelis and Lebanese want to live in peace with each other. Even, you know, in Lebanon, people who are very close to the former President Aoun, who was somebody who cooperated with Hezbollah, they said very clearly in interviews, you know, we want to live in peace. The Maronite patriarch visited Israel with the Pope several years ago. So the issue here is not the recognition and the need in the need for peace and the desire to make peace. And I think you put an Israeli and the Lebanese in the same room. In 1 minute, they can achieve peace. The question is, and it's not something theoretical that we can say, okay, now it's a little bit difficult, maybe we can wait another year, another 2 years in the long run. I have a daughter, and her dream was to live in northern Israel because in Tel Aviv, it's a big city and it's too noisy, and her dream for many years was to live in northern Israel. Now, you can understand the end, not the happy end. Now, she was forced to leave her house because of Hezbollah attacks. The immediate issue here is not in the future, maybe, to make peace, but how to ensure that she can return safely to her house. And unfortunately, without putting either military or diplomatic or political pressure on Hezbollah, this will not happen. And this is the immediate thing. Now, I think that all Lebanese, even the Shiites, do not want a war, are not happy with what Hezbollah is doing to the country. This is something I always remind my colleagues in Israel. Hezbollah doesn't represent not only Lebanon, but also the Shiites. Most of them oppose Hezbollah. Maybe here and there, this political maneuver, that political maneuver, they support him. There is no other representative for the Shiites, but basically they oppose its dependence on the Iranians, and clearly they want a different path and a different future. But unfortunately, there is no Lebanese state, and all Lebanese forces, powers, factions, communities, parties, they try to confront with Hezbollah, well, had to give up. So it's very courageous to criticize Hezbollah, and there are many Lebanese who do it publicly, even politicians. But when it comes to practical matters, Hezbollah starts launching rockets into Israel. No Lebanese can dare to not say, many say. I do remember several years ago, Druze farmers told Hezbollah activists, don't dare to launch rockets from here, from my village. Okay, so these are very good example, positive example. But unfortunately, there is no any power in Lebanon who come and say to Hezbollah, don't do it, don't do it. That's the problem.
If I may comment on what the professor just said, one of the things that is in common between Lebanon and Israel, Professor, is that Israel and Lebanon are both diverse countries. I know that 2 million plus Arabs live in Israel from different religious backgrounds. So the situation in Lebanon is also challenging when it turns to managing diversity. Now, the story or the grammar of managing diversity is a big challenge, and that's another topic that I think we need to raise later on, like not on the first introductory meeting like that, but this is something to think about. Again, if you talk to a Lebanese politician and a statesman, and you ask him or her to give you an opinion about bombing his territories, if he acknowledges, that's not good at all. No one would acknowledge, or ask for any foreign power to bomb his territory or motherland. You see what I'm saying? But again, that raises another question. The problem with Hezbollah is not only Lebanese. The problem with Hezbollah is linked to what happened a couple days ago with the first ever clash with the head of the octopus, with the so-called Islamic Republic occupying Iran. Now, let's admit it. Pre-October 7 and post-October 7, we are seeing a different Israel when it turns to the mechanisms of power with Iran. It looks like we have a change, we have a shift in the mechanisms of power. Again, Hezbollah as a project is not only a Lebanese problem. It is an international problem related to all the proxies in the region, whether it's Al-Hashd al-Shabi in Iraq, whether it's Zainabiyun, whether it's all these, aspects and titles that you can think about. We cannot deal with the project of Hezbollah by ourselves only. We cannot. This is an international situation with Iran, because can you say that the Houthis are like a Yemeni problem only? Yes, they're part of the problem in Yemen, but not only, because the funding, the rockets, all these stuff, the technologies are related to all these stuff. So the dealing with that is not only Lebanese. Again, the project, whereas the people are, as you said, well, you have an example, a prominent news anchor who was in one of the televisions with the Manar television, which is the Hezbollah's TV channel, sent condolences to, I think, General Aznikot for the passing away of his son. So, like, in a way or another, people are saying, okay, what's the political gain from this so-called war? What is the political gain? And that's what's raising the question, even in the Shiite medium, because, like, why are they dying? Why are this blood? Sir, the wars should serve in politics in a way. They're tools to achieve goals. But, like, why would 300 plus militants from Hezbollah die? For what? For because in the mentality, everybody is saying, okay, now Israel will go to do a deal with Hezbollah or with Iran, and that's the new deal in the Middle East. That everybody is saying, you guys are talking underneath the table, to give Iran another role in the region. I'm not a fan of such interpretation, but in a way or another, we have two tracks, sir. We have a track that leads to a more stable, peaceful, sustainable, permanent peace between the state of Israel and the states in the region. And you have another track that is continuous take and give, continuous bargaining, which is the game of the so-called Islamic regime in Tehran. It's up to the Israeli people to choose what type of track they want to go. We want to head. Our suggestion is to build the peace. It's not easy, but it's way more worth. It's way more strategic to build peace. Everybody will gain when we build peace. Everybody will lose when we continue to do wars. And again, I am concerned about the region, but I start by my own people. I start by Lebanon and Israel. This is what I care for, because as a statesman, it's my duty to sustain a life for my people. It's others' duties to sustain better lives for the others. Sir, we have stuff in common. For example, the oil and gas. My suggestion Let's do a Lebanese-Israeli drilling company. Let's extract these and divide the revenues based on the percentages. There is always ways to deal this stuff. I don't need a Karish deal with the leftist government in Israel, with some people in Lebanon. I want a deal where the prime minister or the president of Lebanon goes with the prime minister or the president of Israel under the patronage of the White House in Camp David and shake hands with peace with the umbrella of the Arab community. I don't want a deal at night. I want a deal signed by the Lebanese parliament and the Israeli Knesset. I want sustainable peace. We're fed up with all this crap. And I think we deserve it. Because if we do not, it's a problem. It's a problem, and that won't create a better future for all of us. I think your daughter deserves to live in the north of Israel. And guess what, Professor? We deserve, both me and you, we deserve to have a breakfast in Juni and have dinner in Tel Aviv. Why not? Isn't that time? 75 years, Professor. 75 years of conflict. What else? Is it really unsolvable? Or should we continue in that way, in that pathway? I have some sacred places in Israel. I dream of visiting them. If I'm a Muslim, I really want to go to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the Aqsa Mosque. If I'm Christian, I really plan and will to go to Kanisat Al-Qiyamah, the Church of Christ, to do the pilgrim. Why couldn't I do it? This is a basic human right. Because there are some people who want to serve another master somewhere in Tehran and to gain regional impact. It's not worth all these 300 Shia guys that died. Their blood is very, very, very precious for me as a Lebanese. And sir, we really need to work together to build peace. I don't find any other solution. It's never solved by weapons. If it did, it would have already been solved. I think 75 years is more than enough for a conflict. Shouldn't we, as so-called intelligentsia, have solutions? Shouldn't we try to maneuver between the differences and the commonalities? What's our role? What's our job if we don't do that? If we don't start talking, sir, when is the right time to start talking? It's now. It's now. And you will see things accumulate. And together we can build a future where your daughter not only lives in peace in the northern Israel, but also will have a friend from across the borders, and there will be no borders. There will be like the European Union, where people can move in between. Are you saying that the Europeans are more smart, are more educated, are more tolerant to each others than the Semites? We share same roots. We share same history. Why wouldn't we utilize that? After all these days, I wouldn't welcome any non-hope building from intelligentsia. I wouldn't. I know we are in a very challenging situation. I know we are in a very challenging moment in this time of history. But guess what? Tomorrow starts yesterday. Tomorrow started yesterday. And I think we share that opinion too.
Well, let me just join you. And in all what you have said, that the intelligentsia, the elite, the intellectuals have a role to play. And I do believe that a dialogue like we are engaging now, right now, is the right thing to do. I do believe that what we can do and what we do is explain everyone, for the Israeli audience. My role as an Israeli professor in Israel, that there is another Lebanon, the other Lebanon, that not all Lebanese, actually, most of the Lebanese are not happy with Hezbollah, that there can be a better future. So with this, I fully agree. I just want to mention, unfortunately, that we can't really engage in a dialogue because as an Israeli, I have the right, and there is no problem for me to engage in any dialogue with any Lebanese. But any Lebanese citizen or a Lebanese professor who sits in Beirut and try to communicate with me or appear in a joint event with me can be brought to trial for betraying Lebanon. This is the law in Lebanon. So unfortunately, this is, of course,
Can you
a
explain
serious...
why? Do you know why? Actually, I'm not a professor in law like yourself, sir, but the act of treasony or act of talking to enemy, between parentheses, does not apply when we are talking in public like that to each other as scholars. Because, as you know, sir, and I know you are, one of your specialties is law. What's the aim of this? Is there a criminal aim from doing that act? Am I trying to tell you stuff that will affect the national security of my country? Never. No. You don't ask me to do that, and I will never volunteer to do that. But the thing is, what we are doing actually is building peace. And guess what? Building peace is creating a project totally against the project of the so-called Islamic Republic occupying Iran. Because, sir, if peace is there, they can't find themselves. They don't have any cause to build upon, to exist. Building peace is defeating the project of the Malalis. Building peace is actually a true fight. Yes, they're trying to darken everything. Yes, they're trying to create burdens between us. Now, shall we surrender? Shall we say the only way is to fight by weapons? I'm not an expert in arms. I don't know that language. I understand the language of dialogue, and I understand numbers, and I believe in return on investment, and I believe in the strategic partnership, and I believe it requires two to tango, and I believe that history, we shouldn't live in history, but we shall learn from history. And I believe that there are many things in common between Lebanon and Israel, way more than the 21 years that are, led by the project of Hezbollah, which is the project of the Wali al-Faqih. Now, guess what? I believe they are temporary, and I'm permanent. I'm as Lebanon. I believe that they didn't build a Lebanese project because they built a project based on some stuff that are linked exactly to that regime in Tehran. Now, here's the thing. How far will this regime last? I'm not very pessimist. I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic that even in Iran, the state will win over the so-called revolution. I believe in that in a way or another, at a certain moment, the true Iranians will stand up and say, hey, this is not Iran. This is kind of monstrous way of occupying Iran. And there are intelligentsia in Iran, and there are leaders in Iran that will not accept to be the main reason and the main axis of terror in the world. Iran turned, under the ruling of the so-called Islamic Republic, turned to the main threat for the international security. It turned to be the main challenger for the international community and for the human rights. They're killing their own people. We all remember Mahsa Amini, and all this stuff that's going on. The role of the Iranian regime, the so-called Islamic Republic in Iran, is very weak, and I think the paper tiger shall fall soon. Amen. Until that, I'm gonna try my best to create an alternative. Until everything is settled, I think about the future. I think about your daughter, sir, and my daughter, and why not shall they meet in the middle of the road? So I appreciate that you agreed with me. Let's make steps towards that goal, and let's accumulate like-minded people like yourself and like mine. And guess what? A droplet of water creates the sea.
Well, I can only agree and join you and do hope for a better future, and indeed emphasize the importance of a dialogue, ongoing dialogue. And if we are not those who bring peace because of all of the problems and the challenges we face, so at least we should make the first step. At least we should lay the ground. At least we should prepare the ground and prepare the public opinion in general in our countries, and do promote the idea of peace when everybody speaks about war. But at the same time, of course, we have to be realistic, and it's important to think about the day that follow, the day that after, but we have also to think about today, what should be done about Iran, what should be done about Hezbollah. Unfortunately, because you mentioned Iran, we see that the Western position, the position of the United States, and the United States as an important actor, is to live in coexistence with the Iranian beast, with the regime of the Ayatollah. And if this is the policy, very little can be done. So yes, we need to pray for a better future. Maybe one day it will happen, and then people will come back to such dialogues. But we have to be realistic and understand the challenges we are facing.
Yeah, back to the planet. We deal with terror organization. We deal with Hezbollah, and I think we can't make any steps for the peace without destroying Hezbollah and move him out from Lebanon and from all the borders of Israel. So, and in this situation, the war must be with against Hezbollah. But in this situation of war, did we can find partners in Lebanon? That's what I want to know. That means, there is a few groups which opposition of Hezbollah in Lebanon. So maybe these groups can join us to fight against Hezbollah and move him out from Lebanon, or it's not possible. What do you think, Dr. Ghassan?
Again, as somebody who is a nationalist built and raised as a nationalist, I cannot by any means but reverse the question. What would you do as Israeli if you have the same situation, what would you do in the same situation? If you have a challenge with a political / religious / foreign attached theologically, politically, with a foreign power. If I ask you the same question, what would your answer be? If you are an Israeli nationalist, what would your answer be? I am pretty sure you will not approve me as Lebanese firing bombs or rockets or whatever against that. Because if you do, you're kind of in a treason. You're kind of betraying your own country. So you cannot ask a Lebanese politician this question. You see what I'm saying? I admit, I
Yeah,
acknowledge.
but you can't fight against Hezbollah by yourself. If I
No, but let me remind you a name, Abraham Lincoln.
yes,
Yeah, well, Abraham Lincoln. What did Abraham Lincoln did? I mean, in order to free the slaves and to ensure the unity of the United States, he was ready to fight. If you are not ready to fight for your rights, for your ideas, then Hezbollah is the winner. Yes, I understand the uniqueness of Lebanon. I understand the uniqueness of Lebanon. That's why I say it's a challenge. It's a problem. Yes, yes.
The comparison between Abraham Lincoln and the war in the United States doesn't apply to Lebanon. Why? Because President Lincoln did not ask for the French support for that. And that's I was reversing Mendi's question about, can we partner with Israel to hit Hezbollah in Lebanon? Again, my answer would be, again, the regional problem of Hezbollah is not my only problem. Like, Hezbollah as a project is not only Lebanese. Hezbollah as a project is Syrian, is Iraqi, is Iranian, is Bahrainian, is the United States concern, is the French concern, is the Jordanian concern, is the Egyptian concern, is the Kuwaiti concern. All the Middle East is facing challenges with the proxies. Now you're asking the Lebanese people to partner with you to fight against Hezbollah. That's the point. I'm answering by the following. Hezbollah is partially our problem, but the project of Hezbollah is not only our problem. And here's the thing. Can we defeat Hezbollah as people of Hezbollah? We're not looking to fight with the people. Can we defeat Hezbollah as a project? No. Can any country defeat the proxy by itself? Can Iraq defeat the Hashd al-Sha'bi by itself? Can look at you with all the power that you have. Were you able totally to defeat Hamas? And you have all this military power. And look at Hamas compared to Hezbollah. Now the thing is, and Hamas is just near you. The thing is, are we pro any Arabian Middle Eastern project to create a peaceful Middle East? Well, definitely we are. We are definitely pro any Middle Eastern project that can sustain peace. You can see that you mentioned something related to the access of modernity and the Arab people coming together with the Israeli people to face the proxies of Iran. So can we partner in defeating the Iranian proxies project? Definitely. Can we start? Are we calling for a civil war in Lebanon? Definitely not. But you see, it's a different layers. It's different layers, and you cannot meet them. We can't deal with the project of Hezbollah as based on Lebanon only. Because these militias, sir, as you know, are backed up, are financed, are supported, are trained by the IRGC. And guess what? IRGC is your concern, and is the American concern, and is the French concern, and is the Germany concern. It's all the free world. Now, can we defeat ISIS by ourselves? No, we cannot. It took an international community to try to defeat ISIS. Can I defeat Al-Qaeda by myself? I cannot. Here's the thing. It requires all the efforts collaborated to defeat the project, because it's not me who said the unity of the playgrounds. It's not me. Now, is it your personal, as a country, is it your interest to defeat that term? By all means, you tell me. Would I personally be working with people like yourself to speak about day 2, day after, whatever is going on? Definitely. Now, guess what? What if Prime Minister Netanyahu is not there and there's a leftist government in Israel? Because that was a question somebody asked me. Like, if you have people on the other side of the border ready to build the peace with you, what if the government changes? And my answer is very simple. I'm not an Israeli taxpayer. I don't elect the government in Israel. I'm committed to work with the scholars like yourself, with whoever is ready to build the peace. It's a project, sir. The project versus the project of the continuous killing, the continuous instability, the continuous hostility. And yes, these are two projects. One project will win and one project will lose. Now, I wish we win, because if we win, all the region will be stable for the next at least 25 years. If we lose, may God forbid, good luck letting your daughter stay in the northern of Israel. And good luck me being able to go back to Lebanon.
Okay.
Well, I think when you got an answer. The problem always in Lebanon that in Lebanon usually the Lebanese expect other to fight. It will not happen. The Americans are not interested in a conflict with Iran, and without the American involvement, it will be very difficult. And after all, Hezbollah is Lebanese. All of its members are Lebanese. So if somebody, a member of Hezbollah, a member in the parliament, is under pressure from other members of the parliament, this is the way, not going to Tehran. But okay, this is something we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, always I say the terror, it's not the people who make the terror. The terror is the ideology, and if you don't destroy the ideology, you can't destroy the terrorism. And in this war, we finish our discussion, and hope to meet you again. And if you want to say something before we finish.
I just want to say that let's hope, let's pray for a better future. And indeed, this is maybe looks like a small step, but it's very important to engage in such a dialogue.
Sure.
I would like to thank Professor Eyal, Zisser, and the University of Tel Aviv for this opportunity. And I agree totally with what he just said. It's the first step, and we need to accumulate it with like-minded on the basis of a droplet to a droplet will cause a stream and will cause a sea. And I hope this positive virus spreads to everybody until we're able to do the real, the real change. Today we restarted history. And I believe in the baby steps, but concrete and built upon a project. Peace deserves. Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Mendi, for that hosting, and thank you for all those who are following us.
Thank you, and have a good dream.
Mhm.
And thank you.
Amen.